Meanwhile, President Biden will reportedly dispatch an unofficial delegation of former senior officials to Taiwan after the nation's presidential and parliamentary elections, which are happening this Saturday. China's embassy in Washington responding to the Financial Times report saying this. Beijing firmly opposes the U.S. having any form of official contact with the Taiwan region. Meanwhile, on Capitol Hill, a group of 28 senators are backing a bipartisan resolution which condemns Taiwan's commitment to democracy. The lawmakers are hoping to pass it with unanimous consent ahead of the elections this weekend. Joining me right now is Atlas Organization founder, the author of The Decisive Decade, Jonathan D.T. Jonathan, good to see you. Thanks very much for being here. Your thoughts on the Taiwan debacle ahead of the elections this Saturday?
Good morning, Maria, and Happy New Year. Nice to be back.
And to you.
Well, I think thank you. It's very important that Taiwan is becoming, sort of a centerpiece of our policy in the Indo-Pacific. I mean, this is a major shift. I mean, in 1979, we let go of official relations with Taiwan. We recognized the PRC instead. We let go of the Mutual Defense Treaty, and then we began this long road of opening to China, hoping that they would become a responsible stakeholder. All of that wound up with a military and industrial superpower that is preparing for conflict with us in the Pacific over this island and perhaps other regional flashpoints. So we have a long way to go in shifting our foreign policy fundamentally towards competition and ultimately containment of China. And I think it's great to see the values-based essence of these sorts of initiatives. I mean, the letter that was signed by the senators commending democracy in Taiwan included some real heavyweights. Dan Sullivan, I think, has been fantastic on this issue, very consistent, very early on this. And there's a line in it that says the Senate is committed to supporting Taiwan's self-defense and the liberty of its people through effective deterrence using all elements of United States power. I mean, it couldn't be clearer, couldn't be stronger. The meetings that the Taiwanese representatives in Washington have been having with our members in the House of Representatives is all very good. I mean, we're starting to make this shift towards getting back to our values, and now we have to back it up with the ability to maintain deterrence in the Pacific. That is going to be the big challenge for the United States in the 2020s. If we can hold deterrence in the first island chain, then that will open up an enormous amount of room for maneuver on the economic front, which is how we ultimately win the long game against China.
And of course, this is what you write about in The Decisive Decade, Jonathan, but the Communist Party of China is not having any of it. Taiwan's defense ministry has reported that it did detect 3 more Chinese balloons crossing into Taiwan Strait yesterday, with one flying right over the island nation after China told the United States that it will not make any concessions or compromise on Taiwan during the policy talks at the Pentagon earlier this week. Jonathan, look, the CCP told Joe Biden directly, we will take Taiwan, and we are not going to compromise. We don't want the U.S. involved. And what about these surveillance balloons?
Well, sure. And Xi Jinping has his annual New Year's speech on January 1st, and he said China will surely be reunified, and all Chinese on both sides of the Taiwan Strait should be bound by a common sense of purpose and share in the glory of the rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. So, as usual, he's putting the Taiwan issue at the very center of the overall grand strategy and grand vision of victory, the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. He is saying that reunification is essential to the entire program of CCP's strategy. So we're not getting out of this one. And at the same time, the basis of our opening to China in in the 70s, and then the Taiwan Relations Act says that the basis of U.S. diplomatic relations with China involves the expectation that the future of Taiwan will be resolved peacefully. So the PRC is really throwing out many of the ground rules for engagement with the United States. I mean, as I've explained many times, I mean, it's they that are upending all the expectations of this relationship. I mean, we were fooled. We fooled ourselves. But fundamentally, they see this as something that's part of their destiny. They've built a military force structure that's designed for this purpose. We're starting to see more and more public reports about the weaknesses in China's military, such as the Bloomberg report about water in the missiles and those sorts of things. But nonetheless, the military balance has changed dramatically. And, this remains the sort of central issue. So it's going to be the basis for changing our entire foreign policy. And that's very, very much essential and overdue at this point.
That's right. And the foreign policy is set by the administration. I mean, look, you've got corporate America enabling communist China so much by continuing to support the CCP. And I spoke with Jamie Dimon this week, the chairman of J.P. Morgan and CEO, and he said, yeah, risks have heightened. The ability and enthusiasm to invest is down. But look, you need to set the tone from the top, and we haven't done that. So what do you think the proper response to the CCP should be right now from America? I mean, look, we've had a surveillance balloon. There's an incredible movement to surveil Americans, take information from our military installations. What should the U.S. do about it?
Well, look, I think we have to proceed along the lines of a two-pronged grand strategy, the one that I laid out in the decisive decade, where on the one hand, you have to go through with economic containment of China. That means restricting their access to our markets, capital and technology, and across the alliance system. You do the same thing. Their rise is over. And then, rebuilding the United States, redoing our supply chains so that they're secure, building an alliance-based trading system that excludes China. I mean, all of that will shut down their economic trajectory, I think, permanently. And then, simultaneously, you have to go and establish real deterrence in the Indo-Pacific, rebuild military superiority. That means reinvesting in our defense industrial base as quickly as possible so that we can handle not only China's provocations and threats in the Pacific, but those of their partners. I mean, they're working closely with Russia. They've established that access. We're going to have a multi-theater Cold War situation at best. So we have to be prepared to wield global power.
Yeah.
And yes, I think cutting off their access to American capital and allied capital is going to be essential. And if they go through with some kind of crisis, whether it becomes a financial crisis that stems from their housing crisis, we can't bail them out.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not about global growth. This is about geopolitical power, and it's about the last chance we've got to stop the most dedicated adversary we've ever had.
There's a good piece in Bloomberg says China is fast losing its place as must-have in global portfolios. But I spoke with Roger Robinson, of course, who worked on China policy in the Reagan administration, and he tells me that his Prague Security Studies Institute has identified 40 Chinese public companies. These are Chinese companies that trade on our exchanges, public companies trading in the U.S. capital markets. They are responsible for keeping Iran a going concern. He says 38 of which are embedded in Vanguard's investment products. Okay? So you've got all of these Chinese companies trading in the deepest, most liquid capital markets in the world. That's the United States. They don't follow the same accounting rules. And they're actually embedded in Vanguard's investment products. So you've got unwitting investors funding the expansion of communist China. And they are actually responsible for keeping Iran a going concern.
Sure, and most of the ones on the screen here are also part of the civil military fusion initiative, surveillance state, and all the rest of the sort of whole ball game that's no good. So, I mean, we have to be able to execute as a nation. I mean, just to take the simple actions of getting companies like that out of the indices, out of our capital markets, getting rid of TikTok, things like that, the basic, low-hanging, obvious fruit. I mean, this stuff isn't even super strategic. It's just what you do if you're a sensible person looking at the situation. I mean, you just execute these things.
Yep.
And, I hear from a lot of investors, and they're talking about Chinese stocks are cheap. So, we're not out of the woods yet. I mean, Washington may have formed a new consensus on this, but Wall Street has not. It's good to hear CEOs like Diamond who've made a long, I think, journey from earlier views of China, but we need to have more public voices from the business community. People have to have the courage to say what's right, to do what's right. We're way overdue for the turning point.
It's a scary moment in time. They want to overtake the United States. Keep a spotlight on it. Jonathan, good to see you. Thank you. Jonathan D.T. Ward joining us this morning.